Hey, I'm Sean,
Hi, and I'm Shannon.
and we're the host of Wifey and Baby Mama. Happy Thursday, family. Happy Thursday,
Yeah.
baby mama. Yes,
Happy Thursday.
everyone. My
Yeah.
people, we only have 2 more weeks of Wifey and Baby Mama left before the season is over. Oh my God. I don't know
Yeah.
how to feel about this, Shannon, but you know what is happening. So
I
here you
know.
go. But we wouldn't end our season with that bringing back one of our most popular guests that's been on Wifey and Baby Mama. And not because she's my
Yeah.
girl now, my bestie, but because she's bad. She's bad to the bone. So
Yes,
joining us
she
again
is.
tonight is Miss Tamara Zantel, President and
Yeah.
CEO of every business you can think of, okay? But they all successful. I named them
Yes.
all last show. So, she's baby, listen, she ain't no one hit wonder, baby. She do it all. So I named all her talents and all of her accomplishments. So if you were not here, shame on you. Go do your homework and listen. She was on episode 7 with this guy. So run back and run them titles down. But T, we're gonna have you
Mhm.
for the sake of the order. Introduce yourself to the listeners again, please.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. I'm so excited to be back with my girls. Always a good time. So, yes, I am Tamara Zantel. I'm the CEO and founder of Raising a Mogul, where we work with family-led and micro businesses, helping them get visible, get in order, and build systems around their dreams. I also have a special niche for kidpreneurs and youth entrepreneurship. I also own Legacy Brand Creators, and we're a done for you agency, websites, publishing, all the things. But I got I started because of my 9-year-old daughter decided she wanted to make lip balm and turn it into a multi-million-dollar business. So yeah, by the
All
time she
right.
was 16, I was working for her. So that's just a little bit about me and how I got here.
And we're so happy. I gotta give it a clap, clap, clap. We are so happy to have you back with us. We appreciate you coming back to join us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Because after all, I get tired listening to the titles, baby. I don't know how she do it, but yes, she deserves a round of
Listen,
applause
that is
for
not what we're
filling
here
us in.
for.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about a different type of experience, right?
So now that y'all hear about everything that she does, everything that we do, we're gonna get
Mhm.
into it tonight. So tonight we're gonna discuss one of my more personal topics. Choice or chance. This is something that's very personal for me because this is such a what's the word I'm looking for, guys, when people don't agree? It's such a controversial
Controversial.
topic,
Yeah.
right? It's
Mhm.
such a choice or chance. So if you all can probably follow us, you know where we're going, right? We're going to talk about tonight when people make choices or when chance in life happens, right? Spur of the moment opportunities, bad decisions. We've all been there, but continued patterns at some point become choices. And we got to lay the church down and say, you know what, we got to call this thing. So tonight we're going to talk about that because Shannon and I always preach sticking to your vows at all costs if you can. The Bible only
Mhm.
gives us a few good reasons. What that movie, A Few Good Men? The Bible only gives us a few good reasons that we can walk away, from a thing, this commitments. But in marriage, we're talking about marriage. If you're in a relationship, you can call that pretty much when you want to, because if I haven't taken any vows with
Mhm.
you, you don't get that many chances to play with me. But when we put the
Right.
stock into it, when we put the time into it, guys, we tend to be a little more lenient, ladies. So I want to know, Tamara, you knew you were first because you're guest. You know the rules. You've been here more than once. I'm coming at you
I'm
first.
ready.
When do you feel, or do you feel, it's ever a chance? Or I'm sorry, it's ever an episode where you give someone a chance at infidelity or anything, that you say, is it one time? Is it choice? Do you
Ooh.
have any leniency when it comes to that?
Ooh. So younger me
She said,
probably
"Ooh."
would have been like, absolutely not. Oh, hell no. Right.
Mhm.
However, the
Mhm.
more seasoned and refined version of me, I know better. I know better. I know that we all make mistakes. And I know that at times we always don't show up as our best selves in any type of relationship, whether that's a sibling relationship,
Absolutely.
parenting, child relationship,
Hmm.
friendship relationship, whatever it is, and specifically in a loving relationship or cohabitation marriage relationship. And I think, as you grow older, as I have gotten older, I've possessed the ability to look at myself, understand my faults and forgive those and work through and grow through those. And I can understand that, at some point I might not have been the best person I could have been to you,
Mhm.
for me, to me, so not to say that's an excuse, but I could understand how at some point in my life I could have been probably impossible to live with. Or,
And I
if, you had to something happened, it happened, but I do believe in the power of forgiveness. Now,
Mm,
after we done made it through and we done did all the things and it happens
mhm,
again, it's no longer oops or a mistake. Now we're talking about a pattern and we have to have a different
mhm,
conversation.
and now that's a choice. I
mhm,
absolutely agree. And I'm happy you brought in the fact that it's not just relationships, which is what, we try to focus on here, building and keeping good healthy relationships. But mine is more, well, I have had that issue with choice of chance in my relationship. Please don't get me wrong. But like you said, as a mature, and it wasn't infidelity, thank God.
Mhm.
But I still feel in this marriage, oh, it definitely was the first time around. But this time,
mhm.
it had a demon. And that's the key. You don't want to fight the same demon over and over.
Right.
That's definitely not what we want to do. So in this one, it's been kind of what what serves me, what serves you. Like what does it take for you to maintain or remain in this relationship? And if my husband tells me like this is absolutely a deal breaker for me, I may slip and be like, I need to work on myself. But we got to realize when it's not infidelity, when it's other things like habit or growth or um, even generational things, sometimes it's harder to break than a one conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So I want everyone to be clear. Infidelity, I really don't have a lot of time for that at this big age of 48, okay? But learning the anger, dealing with my husband's anger, or him dealing with his mouth because it gets real hectic. I told you don't talk to me that much. We may have to have
Right.
that
Yeah,
conversation more than once. So we want you guys to be real clear about that. When you're breaking like real stuff, it may take more than one conversation. But disrespect and loving your wife or husband and doing things, don't do anything to me you don't want done to you. And
Absolutely.
we shouldn't have to have that conversation
yeah,
more than once. So
exactly.
Mm.
I
Because
wanted to, yeah,
I'm
go ahead,
sorry.
Shannon. I'm sorry. I just wanted to distinguish the two. Go ahead. I was done.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say because emotional abuse a lot of times gets overlooked. They think, young people think, okay, he's not putting his hands on me, he's not hurting me or whatever. But emotional abuse is just as, crucial to a relationship. And um, to touch on something you said earlier, with the young people, um, that a lot of people think the way we used to think, I'm sure, that a relationship is supposed to be perfect.
Mm.
And they don't want to put any work into anything. And we didn't want to put any work. As soon as there was something, we were out, whatever. Or for the most part, most of us. Um, I do know young people that still go through things that they shouldn't. But um, understanding when you need to ask for help and knowing that any relationship, whether it's your marriage or your friendships, even your work coworkers, we go through stuff that sometimes we're going to need to kind of put a little bit of effort in, unless it's a clear sign of crazy coming at you.
I love that.
And
And
speaking of which, I have, that in a family member that I dealt with for years. I kept trying to maintain this thing because I knew she was making a choice to be the way she was, but I'm like, it's my family, it's my family, it's my family. You don't do that. The Bible says, don't create turmoil, try to make peace with your family. All those things. Family tell you, oh, we're family. We don't
Mhm.
do that. You got to stay together. But
Mhm.
at some point, you got to call it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And what I hear you
You got to
saying,
call it.
yeah, and one of the things I
Mhm.
hear you saying, is this the importance of being able to break free from harmful cycles. That's what it sounds like, and really
Mhm.
just understanding that being able to identify and break free from patterns or people that hinder our
Yep.
growth. So wherever the pattern shows up, it could be family, like you're saying, or it could just be any situation that hinders your growth. Right? We need to find the courage in ourselves to be like, that self assessment. And I think that's why I said sometimes as you get older you mature into being able to do this, the self assessment. So you can look at
Absolutely.
yourself and say, you know what, this isn't working. Is this working? Self, does this feel good? And kind of going back to
Mhm.
what Shannon said is like people, sometimes young people, yes, Shannon, think relationships are meant to be perfect, but other times, depending on the situation that the young person grew up in, they might think relationships are meant to be hard. Right. So
Yeah.
I don't think they're
Yeah.
meant to be perfect, but I also don't think they're meant to be a struggle. So
That's
that's when it's
right.
like having that wherewithal of being able to understand what feels good to me, what isn't working, and to stop justifying harmful dynamics, and just really
Mhm.
understanding that growth demands action, and it's not intention, it not just intention. You can't just be like
Right.
fitting to go. You have to like be prepared
Yeah,
to actually walk away, you know?
Absolutely.
exactly. That's that thin line.
Right.
When they
And
say
Shannon,
there's a thin line. Mhm.
you even said with work. I'm going to tell you something.
Mm.
With that, it's a very real thing in the workplace as well. I attended a seminar back when I was casting for the film. Um, oh, let's get lit. I think it was. Oh, and please don't forgive me, the beautiful soul that invited me. She was so sweet. I think her name was Lisa, but my mind it escapes me, y'all. But I'm just referring to it. I think it's called Let's Get Lit. It was a program that teach young children about reading, and she makes these little nooks. Samara, I think you might be a friend on Facebook. I think I've seen you guys share
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, right. She makes little nooks, Shannon, where she makes in book bus stations and
They're like book
hospitals.
libraries. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like little mobile libraries that she goes set up,
Oh,
and
nice.
she,
Yeah.
yeah, and it encourages young people to get back into reading again. Well, at that seminar, another lady, I think her name was Shonda Brown. She spoke. She has a book out as well. It talks about workplace freaking boundaries. People, we have to have them. So the next episode, since I'm on here stumbling, guys, I'm gonna get the name of that book and get it right. But I'm because it's a really good book and you should all read it. But I wasn't prepared to talk about this. But as we flow, it just comes to my spirit. She
Mhm.
talks about workplace choice or chance. Coworkers can have bad days just like husband, wives, and family members, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But if every day you have something harmful to say, for instance, I have this coworker who, found it necessary one day when I was late to go and ask the boss where I was instead of asking me, "Are you good?" "Oh, she okay? She's late."
Mm.
One time, and she's late every single day. So when the
Oh.
boss called me in, she goes, "Are you okay? I have a slip." I said, "No, I'm over in another court. I just decided to stop in. I'll be over in a second." And we work with several different court systems in the DA's office. And when I got there, I asked her, I said, did you need anything? Oh, no. I said, well, the next time you need to know where I am, why don't you call my phone or text my phone just like you did the boss's? She said, I didn't mean anything about it. I said, well, let me make sure it don't happen again.
Mm.
Because you're late every single day, and I've never felt the need to do that to you. But you know what? I figured out
Wow.
she was throwing the smoke off of her pad.
Mhm.
Let the boss
Mm.
know she's late because I'm late every day. Maybe
Mhm.
she won't watch me. But I let her know quickly I
Mhm.
wasn't the one to play with. You understand?
Yeah.
And I
Right.
recognized what that was, but I let it go. Only to find out 2 weeks later, she covered her file for me. She goes, "Oh, you wrote a post-it to a client instead of putting it on letterhead." She's like, "I told the boss I thought that was so funny."
Ooh.
So y'all know how that go. And I got silent because
Okay.
I can't
Oh.
say the words that I said
Okay.
on this Christian
Okay.
on this on this Christian podcast.
Right.
But let's say this. That was her last time speaking to me. We hi bye and that's it. You don't get that many choices to laugh and joke in my face that you're not my friend. So with
Right.
that, I'm saying maybe she just made a bad choice the first time by asking the boss,
Mhm.
is she late? The second time, oh, you wrote a note because had you looked farther in the file, it was there. The note was the post-it was an addendum. So check yourself,
Mm.
honey, and play with your mama, not me.
So
Mm.
here
So she and I don't speak anymore.
Yeah, so here what you're talking about is that role of the patterns in decision making, right? So highlight
There you
the
go.
difference
Mhm.
between the one-off mistake, maybe,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
that happens by chance, and then the repeated behavior that reveal intentional choices. So like, yeah,
Of who you
Right.
are,
of who you are.
and goes back to what you said, Tamara.
I see
I
you.
don't need you in my space. You don't serve me, sweetheart.
Mhm.
So you go on about your
Mhm.
business because those kind of people can lead you in a bad place. So it's best to separate yourself, okay?
Mhm.
Because that wouldn't have went too well in the workplace. Number three might not have went her way. So it's best to just, you know, go the other way. So she and I, like I said, now we do work stuff and that's it. We used to, follow each other, talk about kids, because let me tell you something, that's intimate stuff to me. And I consider you, if not a
Mhm.
friend, an associate, right? If I let you
Right.
have those kind of access to my Facebook and baby, once I find out who you are, I no longer need you around me. Because if you're not
Mhm.
working for me, then you're working against me. And I don't need
Yeah.
anybody like that in my life. You understand what I'm saying? Because
Agreed.
if I'm
Yeah.
your friend, Shannon, or your associate, I only have good things for you, or I wouldn't be around you.
Mhm.
And that's the
Right.
kind of people I
Right.
want around me.
And
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, that
Yeah.
you sharing that story really makes me think about how much cultural or societal influences have on this whole idea, this whole conversation we're having. So whether it's staying in a marriage or in any type
Mhm.
of relationship that's failing, or even if we think about the workplace relationships, we're kind of told that we need to stick it out and just kind of deal with it,
Mhm.
you know? So I think that's an
Mhm.
interesting thing to think about, the pressures and cultural norms and how they shape our choices. And I feel like that those choices alone, it could often lead to repeated mistakes or repeated positioning ourselves to be taken advantage of or to be harmed over
Absolutely.
and over again, until we make a conscious decision to break free. A lot of us don't realize, and it just goes back to what Shannon was saying, it doesn't have to be a physical abuse. It's like we don't realize we're
Mhm.
in an abusive
Mhm.
relationship until we're like, "Wait a minute, what's happening?" I don't This doesn't
Right.
ever feel good, you know? And I
Right.
think we don't realize,
Right.
yeah, that could happen in so many different scenarios until that's why I think it's so important that we need to slow it down and pay attention and really set this, I do this thing every year, at the start of, most people are doing like resolutions and new year, new me and all that kind of stuff.
Affirmations
Affirmations.
and
Yeah, and
yeah.
it's, I think there's a place
Mhm.
for all that, but what I do is I rewrite my it would be called a manifesto, but for me I call it a woman manifesto because I'm being extra. But it's really like
Mm.
a declaration of like who I am, what I
Mhm.
want, what I stand for, what I don't stand for, what type of
Yeah.
delicious experiences I want in my life, what type of people do I want to surround myself with, just kind of like putting a framework around what my intentions are moving forward in a vision casting type of way. And until you're mature enough to do something like that, you really don't have a whole lot of boundaries. So it's
Right.
hard to know or to recognize when it's time to check someone, or when you're being abused, or when
Mhm.
you're in one of these negative patterns we're talking about, if you're not really careful and you're not paying attention to yourself. So now, since I
Mhm.
do that and I'm very clear, I see it coming a mile away. As soon as it starts to
Yeah.
creep up, I'm like, "Whoop, back up,"
It's the truth.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I don't do woman manifestos, but I'm telling you right now, the digger you deep, I'm sorry, the deeper you
Deeper.
dig, the deeper
Mhm.
the deeper
Mhm.
you dig into you,
Yeah.
that's when all this comes up. So you don't have to even write
Yeah.
it down. It's great to write it down. I think I will start. But the deeper you dig into yourself, the more you find out who you are.
Yeah.
Right? And when I found
Right.
out who I am, this version of me in 2024, the 2022 version accepted way more than she should have. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yes.
So
Mhm.
the deeper we dig, that is so important what you just said. I mean, Shannon, do you agree? Like, I
Oh,
just
yeah,
can't
I
continue to
do.
go for the same things. As I
Yeah.
grow,
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to grow with me or you have to go away from me. Like,
Ooh,
bottom line.
Yeah,
yes,
but
ma'am.
we do have to realize that so many people are passive aggressive, you know. They hold so much in, they take a lot of stuff on, they let it build up until they react, and then people are calling them crazy. So, having the conversation that we're having right now to say to folks, you don't have to change tomorrow. But just look at
Mm.
yourself and say, how much stuff do I take on? And then I blow up because I used to be that way. And people say, oh, I
Mhm.
thought you were so nice. And now I know you're crazy. Well, now they know I am no longer passive aggressive. I speak whatever. If I'm feeling some type of way, I don't hold it in, but I don't have to be crazy with it.
That's
And
right.
in my youth, I was that girl that, would sit back and smile and, just because most passive aggressive people, they want to be liked or whatever, or
Mhm.
they don't want to rock the boat. So
Right.
that's why so many women get in situations where they are emotional, physical, or whatever type of abuse. They take a lot of stuff on, and even at work, um, I stand up for myself at work, no matter who it is. I don't care what your title is. If I feel some type of way, you're gonna know.
No, that's
Um,
right.
yeah, yeah. But it took, of course, growth and getting some steam or fire behind me to say, look, I deserve to speak up for me because who's going to speak up for me? But without sounding crazy.
Mhm.
I don't want to be that
Right.
person that holds it in, hey, I've been treating you this way. for 15 years, and now all of a sudden you're, shooting me or,
Yeah. Now it's a
stabbing me or,
problem.
Right.
doing something stupid. Yeah.
I
So
love
I
that.
want
Or
the young
how many
people to
times
understand. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but how many times do we hear those court cases, right? And you hear a woman,
Mhm.
or sometimes men too, they murder or kill their spouse, right?
Mm.
And then they go,
Yeah.
they were abusing me for years, and they go, well, there's no report of that. No one ever knew. You know what I found
Right.
working in law enforcement and just being a woman? Sometimes you don't write it down. Sometimes no one knows, and one day you just get freaking tired. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. But if we deal with life the way we're telling people to deal with it, it doesn't get to that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So women or men, if it's happening, write it down, report it, or get away. You know, don't let it build up like you said, Shannon, 15, 20 years, and one day you blow their freaking out. Now you're fighting for your life
Yeah.
to defend the rest of your life because you finally got tired of it because it really was happening because you never told anyone because no one ever knew. Now you're a liar and you're
Yeah.
just a bad
Yeah.
person. You're just a cold-blooded murderer.
Yeah. But even if it's not that extreme, I'm sorry I went that
But
far
it
with
get
it.
no,
But
no,
Yeah.
no.
but
But
even
you
if it's
didn't.
not, even if
You
it's not
didn't
that
go,
far,
but you didn't go that far. In my career, I
yeah.
just saw the need to go. I saw the need to bring that point out
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
and maybe we're not even talking murder, but it's talking 15 years of you just getting abused and you just getting beat down until either
Yeah.
you do snap or you snap in the workplace. You might go off and turn over the copy machine. You ain't killed nobody, but you done broke their
Right.
equipment, or or you just turn over the Thanksgiving table one day because you've had it with your
Y-
family member, sister,
Yeah.
cousin, brother, talking to you crazy every time you see him. Whatever it is,
Right.
what we're
Right.
saying is cut it before it gets to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't allow
Or
anyone
yeah.
else to get you to that space.
I think it's
Yeah,
You
or
something
have
your
a
like
choice.
marriage could, yeah, or your marriage could have been saved if you would have been true to yourself from the beginning. There are things you could work on, if you speak up for yourself and you're vocal and in a civil way, what's going on. But if you wait and hold it all in and let it blow up and let it become something that it shouldn't have never been, then that's how in my opinion, a lot of relationships and marriages fail because no one is being, or that passive aggressive person, or maybe two passive aggressive people are not being truthful with who they are.
Mhm.
And I think that's very harmful.
Yeah, I definitely think, pulling together what both of you are saying is that at some point, the bottom line is we need to recognize that staying in toxic cycles, whether it's with family, friends, or partners, really reflects on our own choices. I know you have to be
Absolutely.
Yeah.
really ready and mature
Yeah.
enough to accept that, but the bottom line is if every holiday turns into a family fight or every conversation with your spouse is like walking on eggshells, it's like it's time for
Hmm.
us to like stand back and ask like, am I choosing by staying silent? Am I choosing by staying silent or not? Like, what am I saying by staying silent and not
That's
addressing it,
right.
Right.
not doing anything? What am I saying, right? So it's this idea of breaking the cycle, and by acknowledging the role that we play and enabling it. And that's what I hear you all saying a little bit. And then also, I think it's important for us to kind of talk through a couple practical steps. Like, what does this look like? Of course, it's going to be different for everyone, but I think identifying the pattern for one is really a big step.
Yeah.
Like what
Absolutely.
keeps
Hmm.
happening and how does it affect you? Being self-aware enough to pay attention to your body and how you absorb the situation. It's like this doesn't feel good. I don't think we ever sit still
Hmm.
long and
Hmm.
like, does this feel good? How is this affecting me? And then from there, being able to communicate clearly, share those boundaries I talked about earlier and expectations for everybody that's involved, and then take some action, right? If nothing changes, Yvette, you said this several times, like I think you said either you get on board or you get away from me, something like that. And I was like,
Absolutely.
okay. So if nothing changes, we need to be prepared to walk away or enforce consequences. What does that look like?
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And I think we need to be fair doing that and not doing what Shannon said, not waiting
Yeah.
15 months, 2 years, 3 years before we speak out. Address it immediately, right? Because now you give a person a chance. You can't hold it in for 5 years and be like, you've been treating me bad for 5 years. And
Right.
they be like, what
Yeah.
what I
Right.
do? I didn't know that, I didn't know that telling you the color red didn't look good on you was affecting your whole life.
Yeah.
So that you're just holding
Mhm.
that in. So we got to make sure to be vocal about it as well. You got to be fair to the other person involved, which is why, let me tell y'all why I feel so free in December of 2025, why I feel so free.
Mm.
Because I told you, I told you time and time again what was going to happen if this behavior continued. At that point, now
Mhm.
you got to make a choice if you want to be in my life. And if that behavior continues, then you made your choice, and now I got to make mine. And
Mhm.
that's the bottom line.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
I wanna
right.
make one other point. I talked about earlier a little bit about, us societal norms and things like that that hold us back from making an actual choice and maybe walking away, which is what we're kind of talking about. So but when one of the things, so I kind of want to give the listeners like permission, right? So when we think about faith and
Mm.
forgiveness, we've been again trained to think it's ungodly to leave, or you need to just
Yes.
keep accepting it, or you just forgive, turn the other cheek, right? That's what we
Mm.
grew, many of us have grown up hearing, right? And so it's like this idea around that faith calls for us to forgive, but forgiveness doesn't mean accepting harm repeatedly. It doesn't mean
That's
staying in
right.
Forgiveness
toxic
is
men.
forgiveness. It does not mean forget. Forgiveness is for you, so you
Right,
don't carry that
right,
toxicity. It doesn't mean staying with them.
right.
That doesn't always mean that. So I said that in the opening statement,
Yeah.
laying the church down. That's what I meant,
Yes,
not excusing the church or moving outside of the
Mhm.
church. It's exactly what you said.
yes.
So we gotta be able to distinguish that thing. Don't allow what you've been taught or society, like you said, tomorrow, or tradition. Oh, my grandmother stayed in her marriage, she got beat, or my grandmother stayed in her
Mhm.
marriage, she got
Mhm.
cheated on.
Yeah.
No, ma'am, we're
Okay.
gonna lay the
Yeah.
church down.
Yeah,
And
faith.
that's what I
Mhm.
mean by that. Don't always use that as a clutch. Deal with your
Absolutely.
issues.
Yeah, yeah. Faith isn't
Deal with your
always about
issues.
tolerating, everything. It's
That's
about
right.
believing in your
Mhm.
worth and choosing what aligns with your purpose.
And you gotta call it at some point for your safety and your well-being. And I'm not talking about physically harm, mental, like Shannon stated,
Any
is
of
so
it.
important.
Mhm.
Any of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, ladies, this has been a great dialogue as usual. Do y'all got
It
anything else
has
before
been.
we wrap up?
I think
You got anything else,
I,
Tamara?
I think it's important for us to, as we close out, we did give some practical steps, which I'm excited about. But I also think it's important for us to be okay with, making a mistake. Right? We're learning and we're
Mm-hmm.
living.
Yes.
That's what
Yes.
life is all
Yep.
about. So we have to understand that every mistake we make is an opportunity for us to learn.
That's
And
right.
a
Mhm.
pattern is just a signal. I think that we're choosing comfort over growth. So it's time for us to
Yeah,
get a little uncomfortable and start going
that's
after what
right.
we want and living on purpose.
If you're not
Yes.
uncomfortable, you're not growing. That's just a fact. If you're not
Right.
uncomfortable,
Absolutely.
you are not growing. Because
Yeah.
comfort isn't growth isn't comfort. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I think we all three know that. All
Yeah.
right. So thank
And
you,
I'm
Tamara.
saying, yeah, thank
Yeah,
you,
I was just about to
Tamara.
ask
And
you,
I'm
Shannon, do
Of
you
thinking,
have
course.
anything else?
yeah, I'm thinking we're gonna have to definitely do a part two on this because Tamara, you just made me think of something that I know a lot of us do as human beings. When we're in certain situations, like for example, when me and my husband first got married or not first got married, probably a couple of years in, and things happen or um you know all the stuff, the fault finding and this and that. And a lot of times there's always that one, I'm gonna say me, that think it's always them. It's you, it's you, it's you. And one day he said to me, you're not that easy to live with.
Ooh.
You're a very difficult person. And it took, you know, me stepping back and saying, okay, like they always say, it takes two to tango. And
Right?
a lot of people can't look at themselves and understand and be accountable for what they do. So we'll definitely have to do a part two to talk about how you recognize your own
Mm.
crap and whatever,
Yes, yes.
you know.
Yeah,
And,
that's
and
a
and
good
the
point.
choices. Yeah, I get that. But
Yes,
but I'm gonna
yes.
say this. We can definitely explore that. But I'm gonna tell you this though, just from that little snippet, it's nothing, and I ain't easy either, because I told y'all this mouth is vicious and it's a two-edged sword. But it's nothing I should be able to do to you if we took vows to make you disrespect our marriage in a way that
Oh
that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, it's
Oh yeah.
because you did this to me. I don't ever let that
Right,
be an
right.
excuse. You
Mhm.
don't like my mouth, talk to me about it. We can work on it. And guess what? If I continue to disrespect you or say things you don't like, then you make a choice to leave me. Cheating or doing some other stuff to think that you're going to use that as an excuse, you definitely got me
Mhm.
wrong. So,
Right.
yeah, we'll have to do a part two to that because we don't want to give them an out either.
Right.
Okay, let's deal with it.
Right.
Let's deal with it. I
Yes.
like that. That's a good way to close out. Let's deal with it.
Let's deal with it. So that will be for
That would be
season
the
5,
name.
revised topic. Let's deal with it. So I got it first here on December. Okay, in December of 24, you got a topic for 25. But anyways, we're gonna wrap it up. I thank you, Lady Tamara, as always, honey. It's been a pleasure. It doesn't get any realer than you, girlfriend, and we are happy to have you on our
Yes,
platform
we are.
anytime
I appreciate you
because you
both.
know it does some good.
Always a good time. A real good time.
A real, okay, like a real, right?
A
Ain't no
real.
faking
It's
going on.
real. Ain't nobody fronting over here. It is. And we be laying it
It
all on the
is
table.
what it
It's
is.
like, take what you can,
Mhm.
take what you need, and leave the rest.
Leave the
Somebody else
rest
can
of it,
handle
but
it.
we
Yes,
putting it out
yes,
there. But
that's
we'll wrap up
right.
tonight, family, with something real simple. Whether we're going to admit it or not, we've all made a bad choice at one time or another. And some of us, definitely myself, have forgiven probably more times than we'd like to admit, or maybe more times than is acceptable by society's, standards. However, we must all remember our self-worth, respect, and integrity should be what matters when it comes to choice or chance. Because in the end, only the people involved in that situation really know the full truth. My mom used to say, it's your side, his side, and the truth somewhere in the middle, right? So don't allow
Mhm.
what anyone else thinks to make you stay or go. Make that choice from a personal space inside your soul. Because we're all kings and queens, right? And we should handle ourselves as such and in a way every single day. And we should demand anyone else in our lives to do the same or be gone.
That's right. That's right.
Or be gone.
Wonderful.
All righty.
Wonderful.
On to the next
Love it.
segment.
All right. Well, we've gone a little over, so um, which segment do we want to do tonight? We don't have to do both.
You choose, honey. You choose. It's up to you.
Well, I'll do the fictional family then.
Let's go.
All right. So, on to the fictional family that we're filling, forgetting, or
Firing.
uh, firing. I'm sorry. Thank you.
We went
Like,
over
what are we
tonight.
doing here?
Shannon Brain is out.
Oh, what are we doing? Yes. So the family we're talking about tonight is from Why Did I Get Married? Sheila
My
and Mike.
joints. Okay, go ahead.
Sheila and Mike. So as we know, he was very, very emotional abusive to her. He always put her down. And Sheila, who was played by, of course, Jill Scott. Let me go back. And then Mike by Richard T. Jones. So Mike was always putting his wife down because she was a, uh,
Have
bigger
heavier.
size woman, heavier, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't nice to her at all and cracked jokes on her in front of people and all these things. Well, one of her friends said the most memorable scene um, uh, said, "Hey, maybe if you try to get sexy or whatever and put on some lingerie or whatever." So she did. If you all remember that scene where she put on the lingerie and he bust out laughing. Oh, he's just laughing at her, saying she looks like a tent, like she put on a tent. It looks like you're wearing a tent. And she said, "Well, I thought Trina said you might like it." He's like, "Trina crazy, Trina tripping. Ain't no way I like this or whatever." And telling her to turn the lights off because she was starting to glow, and all these things. And the part of that scene, I'm sure that gets a lot of women is that she just sat there and face dropped and, in near tears or did cry, but she didn't say anything back. She didn't go off, cuss him out, do anything, And that was the pattern of their marriage, where he could talk to her any kind of way, do anything. She's trying to figure out how she can keep him. And she told him, even sitting there, "I love you. And I'm trying to figure out how to make it work." And he was like, "Well, this ain't it. This ain't how you do it." And just, laughing away and, making his crass remarks. And that's what happens I know in so many marriages and in the real world. Um, but eventually, of course, it all turned around her for her. But I'm basing tonight's uh segment on just that scene right there where Sheila could not say anything and Mike's laughing and telling her to turn the lights off because she's glowing in her tent or whatever. So I am choosing to uh, forget Sheila and Mike in this instance because I feel like women should have the power, even though this is a fictional family, take back our power. And when a man is speaking to you that way, you just don't do it. You don't go for it without being crazy. What do y'all think? Sean?
Tamara, I think you should go first. Actually, you're the guest.
Okay. I wasn't sure if I could.
Yeah,
Yes,
go ahead.
Um,
please.
Mhm.
so we're saying we are forgetting the scenario because she did not stand up for herself. That's what you're saying, Shannon?
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
Shannon said. But you can either feel it or forget it, or you can fire it as well. So what is your take on that?
Um, I'm feeling it. While because I feel like there are a lot of women in a position where they're not necessarily happy with themselves. They're lacking maybe the self-confidence, the self-awareness, and they're not yet standing in their power. Either because there has been a pattern or some type of consistent, negativity or beatdown or trauma in their life where they don't really see themselves as the queens they are. So therefore they just stop, pause, and absorb because that's what they think in that moment that they deserve. They feel unworthy. So I'm feeling it because
Mm-hmm.
I feel for
Oh,
women like her in that scenario that has ever sat in a place where you have an inkling that it's wrong because you want more, you deserve more, and your heart is looking forward to something better, greater, right, and more in alignment with what you said specifically in this type of relationship where you're hoping this person that you said I do to would be your protector, your safe place.
mm-hmm.
But that's not what happens. And you fall
Right.
back on the societal pressures, on what your mama told you and what your grandma did and what other
Mm-hmm.
went,
Mm-hmm.
and what you think in that moment you deserve. So your mindset is off. So your vision or version of what you deserve is skewed. So in that moment, I can almost say it's not her fault
Oh
because
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
not until you see the light or you're in a space where you are encouraged, empowered, and you see transformation happening in other women's lives and people are speaking life into you, or you just get so damn sick and tired that you're like, I'm done with this. I don't know what the right way forward is, but I know this ain't it, right?
Right.
Some
Right.
type of
Right.
something has to happen in order for that woman to stand up for herself and decide, make a choice, two powerful words, to stand in their power and demand something different.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
I
and I guess
respect
I
the
should
way.
have. I'm
Go ahead,
sorry.
Shannon.
Tamara, I guess I should have explained a little bit more about the feel, fire, and forget. The feel is usually for you giving them a high five,
Oh,
meaning you're
okay.
But
loving
now,
it.
but
But
I think, but
but
I
I
think she
get
was.
I get her
Yeah, I
explanation.
was about
Yeah.
to
Oh
say, I
yeah.
think she was on course. She
Yes.
feel it
Yes.
because
Yes.
she did not walk away from him because she could, she could have, but she feel her because there's so many women that are stuck in that place to think that I kind of deserve this or I don't know anything different.
Right.
So that's why she's
Yeah.
feeling it. Now, for me, I agree with both of you. I'm going to just forget him. I don't want to fire him, and I don't want to feel him, and I'll maybe bring you two together. I
Mhm.
would I don't want to fire him because she in her self-esteem and in her place couldn't understand that she deserved better. I don't want to feel him
Right.
because I don't want
Yeah.
women to understand or to think that is ever okay. So let's
Hmm.
just forget him and hope in the next they do a movie like that, she get up and bust him on the head with the wine bottle sooner. Okay?
Now, now, now,
So
now.
no, no, let's go there. So that's why I wanted y'all to go first so we can end with a bang. But go ahead, Shannon. Another bang
I
besides the
love it.
bottle. But all
Oh
right, Shannon, go ahead and
Lord.
take us out, honey.
Oh Lord. Thank you so much. We needed that. Well, Tamara, you've got to come back. Like we said, there will be a part 2 of this in season 5. I can't believe it will be season 5. Actually, that's next year, but still, um, we're so blessed to do this and be heard around the globe. And we thank all of our listeners for joining us and being faithful and giving us feedback. And we welcome you back next week. And until then, have a
We
good
love you
one.
all. Bye.
I'm wavy.